Jordan and Mikhaila Peterson for the hour. In the next part, we talk about Jordan's brush with death, including a medically induced coma in Russia. What was that like for you, Mikhaila?
Oh, I cannot even describe how horrible it was. Like, I thought being sick myself was bad because it was very bad. I thought getting off of antidepressants, I went through antidepressant withdrawal, which was just horrifying beyond belief. I thought that was bad. Watching how sick my dad got was so much worse than what I went through that it was hard not to, what did I think? I literally, you know what, for some reason, when he got really sick, I thought I could just move to LA. I was in Toronto and I thought I could just move to LA. We didn't know what was wrong with him. He'd been to a number of different hospitals and my mom had been sick and I thought I could just move to LA and I could do things by myself and I don't have to deal with this. And then I thought about it and I had this weird feeling that whatever was wrong with him, which I thought was antidepressant withdrawal, which is what had happened to me, would last about 2 years. So I sat down and I decided, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I can to help this guy. And I think it's going to be absolute hell for a couple of years. And I don't know why I had that feeling, but I had this feeling of this 2-year period. And so I decided rather than running away, which had definitely crossed my mind, I'd do everything I possibly could and just put my life on hold until he got better, which I figured was about 2 years. So while this was happening, particularly when we were in Russia, I was like, at that point, I was literally learning Russian. I was like, I don't know how long we're gonna be here. Russian is not easy to learn. But I was like, I made a commitment, I'm gonna help and see this through, and I believe that he can get better. So I think the way I managed that was I had a really strong belief that he's sick, but he can get better, and I just have to stick with him till he gets better. And nobody could change my mind from that, not even him, even though he tried. It's like, I'm not gonna make it. Like, yeah, you are. You're gonna be fine. We just gotta get through this. So I think that's what helped, was a naive optimism of getting better.
I mean, it's fascinating.
Faith.
Fascinating to see the roles reversed there, Jordan, but then you both had to deal with your wife getting very sick with cancer, your mum, Mikhaila, and you both had to deal with that. After given what you'd both been through, what was that like for you as a unit, the pair of you, and of course, Julian too?
Well, it was remarkable to see her deal with that, really, to see Tammy deal with that, because Tammy's a very, very tough person, and even she got the news initially that she had a form of cancer that was 100% fatal in 11 months and that no treatment, there was no evidence whatsoever that any treatment, radiologic, chemotherapeutic, or surgical, would help. So that we all got that dumped on us in about 10 minutes. And she just took that in and went on walking. And in fact, I think she was not really even overwhelmingly affected by that until she had to tell Julian and saw that reflected in him. And that really changed her, because she saw that that made more of a difference to him than it did even to her. And so she saw the love she had granted him, because she was an excellent mother, reflected. And that really changed her life. It might have saved her life, but it certainly transformed her permanently. And that took a long time to unfold. But Tammy's she's one tough cookie, and she took everything on the chin. And Tammy basically was at the edge of death for 3 months every day. She just about starved to death during the recovery process from her surgery because of a surgical complication. She lost about almost 30% of her body weight, and she did suffer a little bit with post-starvation syndrome as a consequence of that. But I don't think I ever saw Tammy desperate or resentful during that whole time.
No.
And she opened herself up. She accepted help where she could get it. She took every possibility to move forward that was offered to her. She opened herself up to transformation on every front and really did change. And I would say she's now doing better than she ever has in her life. It's really quite miraculous to see, apart from the fact that she also recovered. And as far as we know, she's the only person who ever survived this form of cancer.
Incredible.
She said, she credits it, I think this is worth mentioning, It was the weirdest thing. So she got really sick. It was horrible. I wasn't around as much when she got sick because I had PTSD from my hospital experiences, and I didn't want to go into a hospital. I went to the hospitals, but like the PTSD was pretty bad. And she was stuck in the hospital, and she said, I'm going to get better. This is just such a strange story. She said, I'm going to get better on our anniversary, which for mom and dad is mid-August. And this was June. And she told everybody this, and we're like, okay, mom, like she's on morphine. We're like, not sure what's going on. And then they flew to the US to do a procedure, which didn't work. And then on their anniversary, she got better, which was really weird because nobody was expecting that. And she goes, oh, it was God, and converted to Catholicism.
That is miraculous, and it brings me back to what I asked you when it was just me and you talking, which is whether you believe in God. What happened to your wife, to Tammy, and her turning to God in that moment? Did that not give you all the proof you needed that there is a God?
Well, I was already very religiously inclined before that. I mean, I've been studying religious thinking for 40 years, you know, and speaking to my students about that very diligently during that whole time. And so in some ways, I mean, the anniversary issue, that was very strange.
Yeah.
And the transformations that have occurred in relationship to Tammy are quite profound and wonderful and hard to believe. Was that additional evidence to me? I already had a lot of evidence, you know, what we talked about in other, I was already a firm believer in hell, you know, and I knew there was a route away from hell, and the route away from hell is a religious pathway. So I'd been walking down that pathway a very, very long time. So this was just another, not just, you know what I mean? It's a milestone and a marker, but it wasn't, for me, that wasn't a qualitative transformation.
Did you dodge the God question in the previous interview?
Well,
He
no,
did.
I wouldn't say so.
Mikhaila, he did. And it was really,
I knew it.
It was really interesting. And in fact, it's almost like he's almost rewinding now, because if I'd asked him right now, I may have got a different answer. Because I think, Jordan, I think you do believe in God, and I think what's happened to your family has reinforced that belief. But for some reason, you're reticent to just say it.
Modern people don't understand this question. They think that it's a matter of believing in a set of facts. It's not. If you believe in God, you allow the spirit of the Logos to take residence within you. Now, but nobody understands what you mean if you say that. But like, think about it this way. Mikhaila could have got bitter and resentful. Well, the spirit of bitter resentment is the spirit of Cain, because her sacrifices would have gone unrewarded. She would have been rejected by God, and she would have shaken her fist at the sky. And the spirit of Cain is a Luciferian spirit, and it's a genocidal spirit. And you can allow that spirit to take up its residence within you. And that means that you're a follower of the Luciferian spirit. Or you can do the opposite. You can allow the spirit of the Logos to take residence within you. And that's what you're attempting to do if you adhere assiduously to a genuine religious practice.
Okay, Mikhaila.
And that's real.
All right,
it's real.
Let me ask Mikhaila. I mean, you said to me, did he dodge the question on God? Why did you say that?
Just to see what his face would look like if I said that while he was on Piers Morgan.
And his body language, the arms went up very quickly, I noticed. Quite defensive body language, Mr. Psychologist.
You gave her a chance to be annoying. She immediately took it.
Well, Mikhaila, explain why did you ask him about God? You asked me why.
Well, I believe in God.
Yeah.
And I didn't before. Or I wasn't sure before. I was never an atheist. But, you know, when people say, do you believe in God? I'd say, I don't know. I don't really get it. I'd like to. I always wanted to. And so when Mom converted to Catholicism, and I saw, you know, a whole bunch of really weird things that I couldn't logic out happened, let alone Dad becoming famous, and then us all getting so sick, and an unbelievable amount of suffering, and then Mom's miraculous recovery that she knew ahead of time by 2 months, the date of, that nobody could explain.
Yeah, well, you learned at least that you had no idea how the world worked.
Oh, absolutely none. That's what I learned is I don't understand what's going on at all. But I saw the transformation that took place in Mom, and I saw how much more compassionate she became because she's a very disagreeable woman, and I wouldn't say compassion is one of her strong suits. And she became more compassionate somewhat dramatically. And then I met...
She's trying to love everybody in the world now. It's very annoying.
Yeah, it's nice. And so that was enough for... Oh, that wasn't quite enough for me, actually. It was about a year later, and Dad was so sick, and I didn't know. I had exhausted everything I knew how to do to help. I couldn't think of any other way I could help. And I remember praying at that point because I literally couldn't think of anything else to do. I was just like, God, help us, help me. And I think it was around that period where something switched, and then my life got easier. And I don't know if that's because I let go of some control that I don't actually have, but my life switched directions and I felt calmer in a way that I couldn't describe or come to any, I couldn't figure out why, and I figured that was God. So that was enough for me to say, reality isn't exactly how we see it. There's more going on out there. And
Mikhaila, if I asked you, Mikhaila, do you think your dad believes in God? What would you say?
Get it right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I do too.
He definitely, I think so. He definitely lives in a way where he knows that if he acts as if he believes in God, then he avoids hell. So I don't know what the difference between that and belief is. Why would you do that if you didn't believe, right?
Right,
Seems
Jordan?
reasonable to me.
Right, Jordan? Sometimes it's always good to bring out the daughter because you'll get the truth out of the dad. You know, you can put the old arms up to me, Jordan, down there from America, but you can't to your daughter sitting right next to you. She knows you better than you probably know yourself.
Very sneaky plan on your part, Piers.